My name is Hervin, and this is day number 47 of the Daily Journal video series, where every day I come on and I document here our journey as we try and scale our company, share any lessons that I find along the way. Right now, it is 10:34, just checking over there the clock, 10:34 p.m. It is actually 11:34 in Eastern Time. We're right now in Austin, Texas. So we flew in here, we got in today. We're going to be participating in a mastermind here with other business owners for this next 2 days, where the purpose of this mastermind is to teach entrepreneurs how to establish processes, systems to streamline their operations inside their business so they can start working more on the business as opposed to being in the business. And there's all sorts of business owners here last quarter, so we're making it here every quarter, every 3 months. And last quarter there were a lot of very successful business owners in the room. We got a chance to do some really cool networking, hear some really cool stories. At the end of the day, it's number one awesome to hear the story of how other entrepreneurs are successful, and it's inspiring. On the other hand, hearing about their problems and where they're struggling, what they're looking for help with, and being able to relate to those. It seems like, regardless of the level at which the entrepreneur is in, there's always going to be some kind of general common problems at every step across the board, across their journey. And so, yeah, no, it's really cool. I'm seeing here my notes. I wanted to give here a quick update. So today we're in Austin. I am exhausted. We woke up at around 6. I woke up at around 6 Eastern time, and if you saw yesterday's video, I made it close to midnight. I went to sleep at around 1, so I barely got any sleep. Didn't sleep much in the plane, like 45 minutes. I am dead. But anyway, some updates for today. So I've been reading this book just out of pure coincidence. I just felt like it was a cool, like, just by the name, it was called iWoz. And I didn't realize, but I like the name, so I had it in my Audible. And usually I get Audible books depending on, I usually just get them based on recommendations that I hear on podcasts or things like that. I don't know why I had it, but so far I've been enjoying the book. It's about Steve Wozniak, who was the co-founder of Apple along with Steve Jobs. And hearing his story has been super amazing. Just listening to him, how from his childhood he really took an interest in science, mathematics. His dad was an engineer who kind of encouraged them by teaching him about engineering, about electricity, and all this thing. And so watching him eventually have success, if you get to see his past, it's almost like it was like the next logical step. So, I like to listen to these books about really successful people to identify what are the common trends among the really successful people. And are there any like frameworks that we can take from that, and that we can learn and apply, that I could at least learn and apply, or at least learn and share. It just seems like as I'm reading the book, I'm trying to think about, was any of his success like really planned to the point where he was like, one day I'm going to become the founder of a multi-trillion-dollar company, you know what I mean? It's like, was it very strategically planned like that from the beginning? And the answer is no. It was almost like he took an interest in engineering, mathematics, that like he kept getting praised for that. He enjoyed it, so he kept diving in more. He found, by luck, he found friends who also related to that, and then eventually he found teachers who kind of helped him along his journey. And then he he found like he had his dad there to help him and support him, so he kind of got lucky there with his dad having him for support and him for, as a mentor. And then having there's so many parts of the book where it's just kind of like he finds a lucky break, or just like something lucky happens that changes the course of his life, like a good teacher, or or just like being at the right place at the right time, going to the only place where they had computers, so he had access to them where everybody else didn't, or something like that. And it just almost feels like, it feels like this, like he had an interest from that. So his intuition kept telling him like this is what he enjoys. And he pursued it. It actually doesn't. It wasn't even something like that. It wasn't like he was following his intuition. It was just he was following whatever he was excited about, and that just happened to be computers. It happened to be science, mathematics, computing, engineering, and he just pursued that, and eventually just kind of got lucky along the way. But he was just always doing it in a disciplined way. Like, he talks about how in high school he used to draw diagrams of like he would design computers on paper, and he was like this super shy guy, so he didn't socialize much, and so he would just spend hours in his room just designing computers on paper. And so anyway, it just felt like he had this hobby that at the beginning, back then, it just didn't seem like it was going to lead anywhere. And then eventually years of him pursuing that leads to him finding Steve Jobs, them creating a company together. Although I'm just getting to the point where they're meeting and so on. And so, but it didn't seem like this big art, like planned out goal of what he was going to do. It seemed more like he was just following his intuition, following whatever he enjoyed. Like he enjoyed computers, so he kept playing around with them, kept creating. He loved engineering, creating things out of electronics, and so he kept creating different science projects. Like he created a ham radio. He learned how to create a flashlight. So he was just playing around, and through the act of playing around, he started to learn like really useful principles when it comes to building and designing computers. And through this act of playing, he kept increasing his skills as a person who knew computing, who knew how to build them, make them faster, make them easier with less parts. Like one of the hobbies that he had that he didn't tell anybody, and he did this for years, where he would take computers that were already out there, that were kind of computer models from big companies. So like HP had a computer model or something, if I'm remembering correctly. And he would take so they would have this like manual that would describe how the computer was built, with like what all of the parts were, and he would just take that and he would recreate them. And then he would say to himself, like, how would I make this better? How would I make this with less parts? How would I make this be faster? And he would just, through pen and paper, he would just put papers on the floor, and he would just start sketching it out and trying to beat himself to try to make a computer better, faster. And because he had already done a lot of work playing around with electronics, and his dad teaching him, like, he had the foundational knowledge to be able to do these things. So it didn't seem like planned. It just seemed like he just really took an interest in computers. He pursued it relentlessly, but not out of like, I need to grind and I need to work real hard and, I need to make a career path work. Like, it wasn't like a strategically planned out thing of like, here's what I'm going to do, and I'm just going to go for it and go get it. Like, it isn't him grinding. It's more like he was playing around. He was enjoying it. He, taking on bigger and bigger projects, which ends up eventually leading to a company. But it's not like this is what he set out to do. And it isn't like he was grinding here, studying 16 hours a day against his will, like not really enjoying the process, but he knew that if he could stick at making computers one day, he would be a billionaire. It wasn't like that. It was him pursuing his passion and him really loving like the process of learning little things about electronics and learning how to engineer things, playing around a lot. Oftentimes he would create things that weren't even that useful. And so for me, it made me think of like, how could you find, at least for me, how could I find something? And this is what these videos are for me. And by the way, today I almost thought like, should I make a video? I'm here in Austin and I'm exhausted. Anyway, I just want to I just want to keep it up. I didn't know where this video was going. I wanted to make it just to, keep the momentum going and not lose it. And also, yeah, I'd rather put up a bad video than put up no video. But in any case, like, how do you find something that you're excited about where you could just literally enjoy the process and follow that and just do it with discipline? Like, when Walt Disney thought about creating a mouse cartoon and he pursued that seems like a silly idea, right? And so like me making these videos, this seems like a silly idea. It might not be beneficial for anybody, but as I'm doing this, I'm learning skills. I'm learning how to talk in front of the camera. I'm learning how to upload these videos, how to create thumbnails. Like there are skills that I'm learning, and on top of that, I'm putting myself out there, right? And so same thing. This is something that I was thinking about. Is like so like a parallel between Steve Wozniak and Joe Rogan, for example. When Steve Wozniak was creating the little projects that he was creating, so he would create a little flashlight, a TV jammer. He would create this program that would make a horse in chess, a knight in chess, like move through every square. These projects like may not have had much utility in the moment, but the skill set that he was learning was definitely useful, but it didn't all click and come together until much later where he started working on Apple. And so for me, and if you think about that with Joe Rogan started just creating a podcast where he would bring on guests, he would just talk, he would record it, he would learn how to interview people, he would learn how to just how to ask questions, how to make it interesting, and he did that for a really long time. He was learning the skill sets, and eventually it all comes together. But it wasn't like this big planned out thing that strategic. I'm gonna, if I make 1,000 podcasts, then I'm gonna make $1 million. It wasn't like that, and so that's kind of like what I'm noticing with these people who are really successful, is that they're just following whatever their intuition, their curiosity is, whatever gets them excited, and it usually ends up being something useful. Like think about Mr. Beast. That's another example that is exactly like this. So Mr. Beast used to just pursue YouTube because he really was interested in just learning how to make videos that were cool. It wasn't like he was thinking, I'm gonna make a $1 billion company off of YouTube or something like that. He might have had dreams of getting 1 million subscribers, but he didn't have like the dreams that were, or what he's able to achieve now. He was just pursuing what he was interested in. And so I'm noticing those patterns across the board with people who are really successful at the top of their field, is that they found something that had a lot of potential to scale, right? So let me explain what that means for a second. So I have a dance instructor, or I used to have a dance instructor back when I used to dance, that he spent like 20 years perfecting his craft. He's amazing, like really, really good dancer. In my opinion, the best in the world. And he worked at his craft. So he did that. He pursued his passion. He didn't like pursue he didn't try to hardcore. He didn't try to like start a worldwide school or something like that. Anyway, because it's such a tiny niche, and he couldn't figure out a way to scale it in a like, or let's just say it wasn't scalable. He was teaching dance, and that market is kind of niche, and so anyway, he just didn't grow as much as in comparison to Joe Rogan, where one YouTube video can reach millions of people. That has a lot more potential to be scalable. The same thing with computers, everybody needs computers, so that has a lot of potential to be scalable. Anyway, the point being here is that the trends that you're seeing among the really successful people is that they found something that was really scalable. They had a really strong interest in that thing, and then they pursued that thing relentlessly for years, for 7, 10, 20 years, and usually like they become really successful towards the end of those years, but they had put all this work before, and they did that without without getting the biggest amount of rewards financially, for example, but they still stuck to the process because they enjoyed it. So that's the takeaway for today. That's what I was thinking about. So how do you find something that you're really passionate about and you stick to it? You do it for a really long time, even if it might be silly, even if it doesn't have utilitarian purposes right now. This is like, as long as you can find something that has the potential to be scalable, that's where I've seen all of these successful people, by reading their books, find their success. So anyway, I appreciate you listening. Thank you all so much. I am going to wrap it up. I feel like if I keep talking, I'm going to start not making sense. So I'm going to cut the video here. Appreciate it. Subscribe to the video, and I'll see you all tomorrow.